Gotta take a sip of coffee. Oh, bitch. Perfection. Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Crystal. If you're a fellow bookworm, if you like talking about books, if you like hearing about books, you're in the right place. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about all the books that I read in February. I usually average like 5 to 7 books a month, kind of just depends. So I read 5 books this month, and these were all 4 or 5-star reads. So it was a very, very good reading month for me. First things first, Archer's Voice. This is one of my new favorite books. I absolutely loved it. This was actually the book we read for our February book in my book club, but this is a small town romance about Bree and Archer. Bree moves to this really small town of Pelion. Moves there because she went through something very traumatic in her life and she just needed a fresh start. As she is settling into her new life in Pelion, she crosses paths with Archer. He's gone through a lot of traumatic things in his life as well. And when she first meets Archer, he's a little standoffish and she doesn't really know why. And as she's like meeting people throughout the town, they're all telling her all these pretty much like these bad things about him. And she kind of realizes that he's not very accepted in this town. And the people in Pelion have not given him a fair chance for reasons that I will not spoil, but if you read this, you will know exactly why. Archer is very silent. He is really, you can tell he's very closed off. He has his walls up. And as she gets to know him, those walls kind of start to come down and she starts to really get to know who he is as a person. And she quickly realizes that he is very misunderstood by the people in this town. So obviously they form a relationship, and this book takes you through not only their relationship, but their own personal growth throughout the book. This was such a beautiful and sweet story. Mia Sheridan really knows how to pull at your heartstrings. This book is a bit spicy as well. There are some really spicy scenes in this book, so just a heads up there. But if you are a lover of the romance genre, this is a must read. This was an easy 5 stars for me, and in general, one of my favorite romances that I've read. The next 4 books I'm actually going to talk about in pairs because I actually read 2 little duos in the month of February, so 2 book series. So these are the next 2 books. The first one is It Happened One Summer, and then Hook, Line, and Sinker, also romance books. Now, I will say, these have been sitting on my shelf for the longest time. I think I didn't grab them because the covers just threw me off. Look at the covers, I kind of think like cheesy romance, and I'm just not a fan of cheesy romance books. It's just not my thing. So I was really putting off reading these, and finally I was like, you know what, it's February. I'm just gonna read them. I'm gonna grab them. I've heard really good things about them. I was actually pleasantly surprised by how much I really enjoyed these books. These I think are technically rom-coms, and I am really picky with my rom-coms. I usually find them to be, again, just really cheesy, and I can't do cheesy books. I ended up really loving this little duo. These are both set in the town of Westport, which is a small fishing town. I think I've come to find I am a sucker for small town romance. The setting and me wanting to actually like live in the pages. I've always lived in a big city like my entire life, and so I think just deep down I'm someone who lives vicariously through characters that live in small towns. They're just so quaint and cozy, and I just want to live in the pages, you know? The first book is about Piper, and she is a very wealthy, beautiful socialite. She comes into this town of Westport. She ends up meeting Brendan, who is kind of like a big, burly, kind of grumpy kind of guy. And he immediately doesn't like Piper because they're polar opposites. Comes in and he can automatically tell that she does not fit into their small fishing town. And he's the type that he doesn't like new people. He doesn't want anyone coming into his town, especially someone like her. So they immediately bump heads. This is like your typical enemies to lovers trope. And at first when Piper is introduced, I actually didn't really love her character that much. Just felt like she just gave off this like kind of stuck up, kind of conceited, I don't know, just like I didn't really love her character very much. But I think that's the point of this book, because as the story goes on, her character development in this book is so good, because I ended up really loving Piper, and I loved the connection that her and Brendan had. I loved their relationship. And as Piper starts to feel more at home in this small little fishing town, kind of starts to double think the life that she is living in Los Angeles. This very high class, glamorous life in LA, she starts questioning that. And wondering if she can maybe start a new life in Westport. I will say this book is also very spicy. I like spice, so for me, I loved it. I will say there were a few cringe moments in this book, like cringe moments in the writing and in the banter. Like there was just a certain parts where I was like, ooh. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but just those little cringe parts, and also the fact that I did not really like Piper's character for like half of the book. Overall, I really enjoyed this. And then the second book in this little series is Hook, Line, and Sinker. And this one is actually about Piper's sister, Hannah. Hannah is sort of polar opposite of Piper. Hannah is very down to earth. She's very casual. Just one of those down to do anything kind of girls. She's very into music. He actually meets Fox in the first book in this series. The second book actually highlights Hannah and Fox's relationship. This is a friends to lovers trope. The first one is enemies to lovers. This one is friends to lovers. And I really enjoyed this one because Hannah, like I said, is one of those like down to earth girls, and Fox is more of like a ladies' man. He's kind of a player, one of those guys that no one sees settling down with any girl. And so him and Hannah are friends. They have a friendly relationship. They text every now and then. Hannah, of course, lives in LA, and she ends up coming back to Westport for her job. And Hannah and Fox are friends, but they do like flirt a little bit here and there. Like there obviously is a mutual attraction between the two, but they remain friends. But of course their relationship flourishes. It is a romance book, so that's not really a spoiler. So that's what this book is about. I really loved Fox's character development in this book. Always liked Fox from beginning to end, but to see how he grows as a person, it was just so good. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars as well. The only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is because I feel like there were some pretty slow parts in this book. I don't think the whole book is slow. There was just little pockets of slowness for me, and the buildup was a little bit too slow moving for me personally. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book as well. All right, and then the last 2 books I read in February. This is another little 2-book series. These are psychological thrillers. So the first book is The Housemaid, and then the second book is The Housemaid's Secret. I actually posted a reading vlog reading The Housemaid Secret, so if you're interested in that, that is up on my channel right now. But the first book is The Housemaid, and this book is about Millie. Millie ends up getting hired to be the housemaid for a very wealthy family, and she gets hired to be a live-in housemaid, so she's going to be living in the home with the family. When the wife of the family takes her upstairs to go show her to her room, she walks in and it's like this little tiny attic room. It's like no bigger than a closet. And she realizes that there is a lock on the door, but the lock is on the outside of the door rather than on the inside. And so she's kind of like, okay, that's a little weird. She kind of sweeps it under the rug and doesn't really, I mean, she's creeped out by it, but she doesn't make a big deal out of it because this is her new job and she doesn't want to cause any problems, so she just kind of ignores it. But as she is working for this family, she's cooking, she's running errands, she's cleaning, all those kinds of things. The wife kind of starts to act really strangely, and Millie doesn't know what's going on, but she really needs this job. So she kind of, she's just like, you know what, I just have to take it. I have to take it. The way that this woman is acting towards me is so weird, but there's really nothing I can do. I need this job. I'll work here for a little bit longer until I can get back on my feet. The wife does have a husband as well, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I will say that Millie is just very intrigued by their life because they're very well off. They seem to have a perfect marriage, and Millie kind of is very envious of that, and she wants to know what that feels like. As the story goes on, there's a lot of secrets that are revealed. There is a point of view change in this book, which I really loved. Actually, in both of these books, there is a point of view change, and I just love that aspect of these. I love it when you're reading from someone's point of view, then it switches and you read from another character's point of view. That's exactly how these books are. There are so many twists and turns in this. It's one of those books that you will not want to stop reading. You're constantly flipping the pages. I read this book in 2 days. I could not put it down. And then the second book is very similar to the first book, but it's also very different at the same time. So it still has the same main character of Millie, and Millie again gets hired to work for a very wealthy family. When she comes to work for this family, the husband doesn't introduce her to his wife, and she realizes that his wife is sort of cooped up in this guest bedroom upstairs, and she refuses to come out. She will not come out. She's never even met the wife before, but she knows she's up there. The husband is very adamant and keeps telling her, Do not bother her. She's not feeling well. She needs her rest. For no reason at all, do not have any contact with my wife. Millie can also hear her crying in the room. She hears stuff going on in the room, but she has no idea what it is. She also finds blood on some of her clothes when she's doing the laundry. So she knows that something is not right. Of course, Millie being Millie starts to do some digging, and that's when everything kind of unravels and all the secrets are revealed. So I ended up giving The Housemaid 5 stars. Easy 5 stars. Housemaid's Secret, I ended up giving 4.5 stars, so almost 5. There's a couple of minor details about this book that I didn't love, which is why I took like half a point off. Millie is a very strong female character. I loved her in the original Housemaid. However, in this book, Millie is in a relationship with a guy in this book, and the way that she treats him, it really annoyed me. I was like super annoyed by how she treated this guy, and he's like a good guy, and she treats him like shit, and I just didn't like that. I really didn't like that at all. Still love her as a character, but there's just those little things where I was like, I don't like this. There's also a few really big twists in this book that I was not expecting. I absolutely love unexpected twists, and this one definitely gave me that. However, after one of the big twists in the book, I kind of ended up figuring out what was going on. So it was a little bit predictable in one aspect, but then as soon as I figured out what was going on, there was another big twist. And then by the end of it, I was like shook by it. So although I did figure out what was going on, was a lot of twists and turns that still like kept me on my toes, kept me on the edge of my seat. I am obsessed with Frida McFadden's writing. I cannot wait to read more of her books. She has this way of incorporating unexpected twists into her books so effortlessly, flawlessly, just flow perfectly within the storyline. And it's that writing that is just so captivating and you do not want to stop reading. So that is it for the books that I read for the month of February. If you have read any of these, I would love to know what you thought about them in the comments. And if you have not read these, I would highly recommend putting them on your TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will put all of my social media channels here on the screen if you would like to go follow along over on Instagram or TikTok. Again, thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.